Alright guys, so we're finally up to this movie, which I actually really like this movie. Now, one thing I don't get at all is that Thor's first movie was more well received and beloved by fans and critics alike more than this movie. Now, there are a lot of other people out there that prefer this movie over Thor. I don't know, maybe this one stuck with people more than Thor's one, but I don't get why Thor's movie was so much more well received than this one. I personally think this is a great movie. It's not slow for me. It's not slow at all. It follows a basic three act. It follows the basic 3 act rule, setting up the world and the character, then him going on a journey of self discovery and exploration. And then leading up to the final act, which is the climax. I love this movie, and I don't get why people like Thor more, because this is honestly a great movie. Anyway, one thing, I love seeing Sebastian Stan. Man, I'm just going to say this right now, I freaking love this guy. Like, Chris Evans is great, but, like, a guy that I would like to hang out with. I've watched so many interviews, so many behind the scenes with Sebastian Stan. He is just a great guy in real life. Like, Chris Evans, surprisingly, is more like Tony Stark than Tony Stark, because he loves partying, he loves cracking jokes. It's weird. Anyway, I just love Sebastian Stan. The chemistry between Bucky and Steve in this movie is freaking fantastic, and it gets better with future movies. Another thing that I sort of didn't like at first, but have grown to love, is Peggy Carter in this movie. She was great. I don't watch her show. I'm not interested in her show. I watched the first season. It was good, but it just didn't feel like it needed to be done at all. It wasn't needed. For that reason, that's why I won't be reviewing her show, because there's only like 2 seasons of it, and each season is very short, so I just don't see a need for it to be a part of this cinematic universe or to review it. So, heads up for that. Anyway, in this movie though, she is fantastic. I love her. She's a badass. She is independent, unlike certain other women in the MCU. Jane Foster. Now, this is something that I've noticed over time. Has anyone noticed that the music for this movie is pretty much the exact same as the music that they would use for Marvel's next movie in the lineup, The Avengers? The music is the same. The music is completely the same, scored by the same person. And it came across a little lazy. It's like you didn't have enough time to come up with a different score. Were you rushing? Was it all last minute? Because the score is done is pretty much the last thing that they do, because they make the movie, they edit it, they do all that, and then do the score. Because you can't make a score for a movie and then later the editors cut something out. You just can't do that. So it's one of the last things, and they use the same music that they were going to use for the movie that came out next year, The Avengers, the big team-up movie. People say that DC Comics' movies have been rushed, with BVS and Justice League. Well, Marvel has done it too, okay? And everyone just sort of forgets it, brushes it to the side. Okay, so one of the things that people bring up when they're complaining or bitching about how they don't like this movie is the action. With the people on strings and stuff. Yeah, I get that, alright? There are people on strings. At times, it's very noticeable. It's not good. I will admit that. It's not good. I want to defend this movie as much as I can, but fact is, it does not look good. It is not good. It's not good. So, also, I will add that the action just isn't that good in general, even without the string. Excluding the idea of using strings, it wasn't like, holy shit. Like, if you compare this movie to his second movie, The Winter Soldier, the action in that movie was just fucking awesome. This movie, it's not as good. I mean, it's just not as good. But it's fine despite the strings, which is noticeable in like this one shot here. I mean, what the fuck? But besides the strings, it's bearable. It's fine. I have no problem with it. As I said at the beginning of the review, um, for me, it's got it's got that perfect three-act rule of setting up the character in this world, setting up the world that this character is in, all that stuff. So you got a great setup with a great second act where he's self-exploring. Kind of starts out with his transformation, and everything after that, he becomes Captain America, but not in the way that you think, not in the heat of battle. First, he becomes Captain America by basically by promoting the war, basically. So he's not actually doing anything. He's not actually doing anything really. He's just what are they called? He's like one of the girls that are dancing alongside him. He's just there to promote the war, which I actually kind of liked. I thought it was interesting that they used that to set up his costume, also his shield, and also his name, Captain America. Because you honestly think he would have gotten that name, Captain America, during the war? No. So it makes sense that he would go through something like that, and he'd get the name that way. Also, it also pays homage or homage. I don't know what it is. It pays respect to the old-fashioned Captain America suit with the pirate boots and the shield and stuff. So I like how they reference that. But yeah, and after that, he saves Bucky and a whole factory of imprisoned soldiers, and then goes on to become Captain America and stuff, and then leads to the third act, which is fine. Not most third acts are fine because everything leading up to that is what's really interesting. The third act was great. I kind of liked it. Wasn't anything. It wasn't. I didn't enjoy it as much as everything else before it though. But I liked the movie, so I will see you in my review for the Avengers. Fucking love that movie, so see you then.